I now have the great honor and privilege of introducing our next speaker. Please welcome, from the Special Olympics Illinois Torch Run Director, Sergeant Bill Devine.
Good afternoon, everybody. As I said, my name's Sergeant Bill Devine with the Tinley Park Police Department. I was asked to come talk to the group today about my life experiences as a father of a Special Olympic athlete, as well as a law enforcement torch run officer, and my dealings with Special Olympics. I have to be completely honest with you, as you will notice by my fidgeting, I am not a public speaker. I thought once they told me it was a founder's luncheon, it would be good, because knowing what we did last night, I figured half of you would be sleeping. Unfortunately, after this morning, I realized, nope, not going to happen. I have everybody in front of me. But before I could get to that story about torch run and Special Olympics, I have to lay a little bit of a foundation about my life, some of the craziness that happened within it that led me to the point to this stage. You see, back in 1998, I married my beautiful wife, Nicole, after dating for 7 years. We had met in a local restaurant as we worked our way through college. Through those years, we talked that, we knew we were going to get married. It was just when we were going to get married. We wanted to be secured in our careers. At the same time, we were going through all this, we learned that she had a severe case of rheumatoid arthritis. We knew that it was going to require some probable joint replacement surgeries and some very strong medication. Matter of fact, a week after our wedding gift to each other was a brand new knee. She had her first knee replaced. But again, at the same time, we were told that the medications she would be on would prevent us from having children. Not a big shock for either one of us. We knew people who had families of adopted kids, so we were not at all even concerned about that. We realized we'd be able to still have our family. So once we got the arthritis under control, we got our house, we got settled into our marriage, we decided we were going to start that adoption process. So we filled out our paperwork here in the state of Illinois, and for those of you not familiar with the state of Illinois, it might be in yours, trying to adopt a child as a police officer is like trying to arrest a tooth fairy. It does not happen for the most part. We know it, high suicide rate, high alcoholism, high divorce rates. That made for some troubled times in our house because we kept getting rejected. So at that point, we decided we need to leave the state, and we turned to the great state of Michigan. Started, go blue, had to throw that in. So we start the process with an agency in Michigan, get it going. I hid the fact that I was a police officer from them because I didn't want to get rejected again. Michigan made it very clear they just cared about providing children to the families who are willing to love and support them. So, crazy part of my life I talked about earlier, here's where the first incident comes in. For everybody out here that has children, you had 8 months to plan. Mentally, emotionally, get the bedroom set, get everything set. Me and Nicole, 40 minutes. 40 minutes. The story is this, 4:20 in the afternoon, I'm at work, I get a phone call from the agency. Hey, Bill, we got a child. We got a baby girl that we want you to consider. If you accept it, we need to know by 5 o'clock because that's when we close, and if you accept it, you have to be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning to start all the process. So, in a complete panic, I called my wife, said, listen, this wasn't the way we thought this was going to go. They have a child for us. After an awkward moment or two, we both said, absolutely, let's do it. It just clicked. It was going to be right. Next morning, drive out to Michigan, and we met the most beautiful baby girl you could ever imagine. Adoption gets finalized, we return home. Happy family. I got my career on track. Nick's arthritis is under control. Beautiful baby girl. We decided, you know what, let's start the process for a next one. So we start the paperwork again with the same agency, and there's a wait, there's a typical wait. So as we're waiting, one day, she comes, wakes me up, and she's like, we have a problem. And that crazy part is with a vengeance like I've never seen. She goes, we have a problem. I'm like, what's that? She goes, I'm pregnant. Being a typical cop, what do we do? How did that happen? So I obviously we know how it happened, but what we didn't know was, we didn't know why it happened, or, because again, we were told we wouldn't have kids. So I get out of bed, I hug her, and we have that moment of like, oh boy, what's forward for us? So we made our doctor's appointment, we did everything. Folks, we went to those same doctors that were treating our arthritis that said you probably wouldn't have kids, and every one of them, all they said was congratulations. Now, she was a high-risk pregnancy. It was because of the joint replacements that she had. They weren't sure that she'd be able to carry the extra weight of a child. So after the first trimester, we go in for a scheduled ultrasound. We go in, and I'm staring at what the tech is doing, the ultrasound. I'm looking at the screen. I have absolutely zero idea what I'm looking at, but it looked cool. But one thing cops we know is how to read people. All of a sudden, I saw that tech's eyes laser in on a thing, her eyebrows curled, and she just stares, and she kept going back to this one image. Right then and there, I knew there was something wrong. I knew there was something wrong with the baby. I couldn't say anything. I didn't want to ask her, hey, did you see something screwed up? Because I panicked, didn't want to throw my wife in a panic. And so I just sat there. My heart was basically in my boots at that point, scared to death that I was going to be right, but I couldn't tell Nicole. Tech got up, finished it, said the doctor will be in a couple minutes to talk with you. For me, what felt like an eternity, doctor comes in and says, we believe there's something wrong with your child's heart. We need you to be back tomorrow morning. We have it set up for a cardiologist who's going to do another ultrasound. They're going to look at it more close. That moment, we left that hospital scared to death. No answers, no nothing. So the next morning, we go to the doctor's office and we start having an ultrasound. I have to add this in to put some of this in. We had the most callous doctor in the history of medicine. This lady's bedside manners were horrible. She starts doing the ultrasound, she looks at it, she goes, yes, your child's gonna have a severe heart condition known as AVSD, atrioventricular septal defect, basically had a two-chambered heart. She goes, I'm gonna let you process that, I'm gonna go out of the room, and then I'm gonna come back and tell you the rest of the news. So off she went, my wife's in tears, I'm trying to act brave as I could, but it was difficult. That same doctor walks back in and she goes, oh, I didn't tell you this, 99% of the people who have AVSD have Down syndrome. Walks out of the room, so there we are. Receive that news that we probably have not only do we have a child that has a severe heart defect, but is also going to have a 99% chance of having intellectual disabilities. Folks, I got to be completely honest, it's a completely wrong thought. I thought my life was over. I thought it was that happiness we had. Again, beautiful daughter who was 3 years old at this point. I thought that life was over. I thought it was going to be all the struggles. So we leave the hospital, both of us completely floored. Way home, we stop at a local church. I'm a man of faith, so we stop at a local church. Both of us sat there crying our eyes out that this was our life, a life that we never expected. I started blaming myself. I was, questioning my faith. What did I do wrong? Why me? Everything we shouldn't have done, I was doing. So we leave the church, and now we have to act brave. We have to act brave because now we have to tell our families and our friends. Folks, to hear it is one thing. To have to repeat it, it did not make it any easier, and it was very difficult. So over the course of the next few months, we started telling everybody, we started to get a little more comfortable within our fate, or what our life was going to hold. That comfort got thrown right out the window on May 4th, 2006, May 4th, 2006. Reality was here, and he was crying. Our son was born. Doctors, 2 days after the hospital, or 2 days after birth, we were able to bring him home. We brought him home, and he was no different than anybody else. Little baby boy, beautiful little boy that just did what every baby does. Prior to leaving the hospital, we had a game plan in to get to surgery, to get his heart fixed. The plan was 4 months. They wanted him to fatten up a little bit. They wanted to get some weight put on him, let him grow, let his body basically relax. That did not happen. 1 month into it, he stopped feeding. All the weight they were hoping to put on didn't happen. It was the opposite. He lost it all. Because of the heart condition, he couldn't eat. He would try to take a bottle, but every time he would drink, he would basically pass out because the heart couldn't keep the blood flow, or the oxygen in there, and the muscles just wouldn't work for him. So he started losing a lot of weight. Brought him in, they ended up putting a feeding tube in him, and that 4-month surgery became a 2-month surgery, 2 months sooner than they ever want to do it. So we go back home, or we have the surgery set. We turn our son over to a team of cardiac surgeons. 8 hours later, our son comes out with a 4-chambered heart, like the rest of us. Doctor said everything went good. And wait, real quick, I left this part out. You know what they use to fix that heart? Kevlar. The exact same stuff in our ballistic vest fixed that little boy's heart, which was really crazy for me because, again, wearing a vest and then to have that news. So here we are. Boy's all better. The doctor, the surgeon tells us everything's fine. He's 100%. Heart is no different than anybody else's. Bring him home. We thought finally we'll be that family. Happy newborn, or a beautiful newborn that's better. Beautiful daughter. Again, great job, great family. First doctor's visit, follow-up doctor's visit was the first time I experienced some public perception of having kids with disabilities. Change that. We bring them home. Now, first experience, of what it's like to have a child with disabilities, Before the scar could even heal on his chest, we were brought Easter Seals, our state organization that oversees early intervention, contacted us, said we need to come over, we want to start doing therapies with your son. Again, we're dealing with a 3-4-month-old that has a disability. Team of therapists come over, start talking with us, they start working with them. I became very angered by that because I just wanted, this kid had already been through hell at that point. I just wanted him to be okay. I just wanted him to, be a baby. So therapies start going, and what we learned real quick, kids with Down syndrome, very low muscle tone. So the things that we do that are we take for granted or a typical baby would do, he was going to struggle. Took him over a year to crawl. All the milestones we missed. We were missing milestones left and right, and it was very discouraging. Very, I felt bad because again, I just wanted my son to be normal. Took over a year for him to learn how to crawl, how to hand to mouth, how to sit up. He couldn't do a lot of things still. Walking took him over 2.5 years before he was able to stand up and walk on his own. Same time we had speech therapy. Could never get him to talk. And the doctors, the therapist told us that, hey, you know what, he's probably not going to be able to talk. Folks, stop and think of this. The most fundamental thing we do for safety and survival is our communications abilities. He wasn't going to be able to talk. Now, we know there's sign language out there. We know there's speech communication devices that can be used. Concerns were, how long would it take him? How long would it take him to learn that? Me and you might learn it quick, but now, again, we're still dealing with somebody with an intellectual disability. So, scared to death. What if he gets lost? How is he going to tell us he's hurt? That was reality, and it was very scary for us. So, I haven't brought it up to this point, folks. I had already been part of our law enforcement torture and program in my area department. We weren't actively involved. We would run the leg through town. We had a 3-point-mile run through town that would end. We'd pass the torch off. We really didn't have any contact with any athletes. That was the extent of it. We ran the torch through town because every other department did, so we did. While we're doing this one year, our local leg leader approached me and said, hey, Special Olympics just started this young athletes program. It's for ages 2 to 8. I think you should consider doing it. At this point now, our son was 2 years old. Me and my wife were both athletic in our younger years. So he said, you know what, let's look into this. We ended up finding a local program at an area high school. We got involved. The first day we showed up, we realized that we were with people who understood. Now, we have big family, big supportive family. But I don't believe they ever truly understood the troubles we were facing, the difficulties we were facing in our home. That first day we showed up, we met families who knew it. They felt it, they knew it, we knew them, and it was so comforting for us. Most importantly, though, it opened my daughter's eyes to her future, and seeing and meeting kids that had siblings with disabilities. It gave CJ everything they did, their program, Young Athletes Program, if you're not aware, let's call it what it is. It's therapy. It's a form of therapy. Balancing, kicking, running, any sport or motion. It was OT, it's fine motor skills, gross motor skills. It was everything. To me, it was the purest form of what Special Olympics is. And what I mean by that, take the Special Olympic oath. Let me win, but if I cannot win, let's just set that to the side for a second. Let me be brave in that attempt. These young athletes, that was them. They just needed to be brave. They were still trying to figure it out, as were their families. So that same year, we get invited down to our first Summer Olympic Games down at Illinois State University. We bring our son down. It was not only the first year or experience with the Special Olympic program, it was also really my first experience seeing what the law enforcement torch run was truly about. So we go down to the Special Olympic Games, we do our things. Young Athletes Program at the time was 10 stages. And again, all therapy-based stations. CJ would go through, and every time he completed a task, they'd put a sticker on his envelope or on a piece of paper. Once he completed everything, they did the award ceremony. They all took it in, and he got his first official Olympic award that year, and it was a ribbon. And that ribbon was put around his neck by an Illinois State trooper. To me, it was really cool to see that, and it just, again, it opened my eyes to the torch run. Remainder of that day, we went about watching families, watching older athletes. It gave us insight to what our personal futures hold, and that the fact there is hope. So that evening, we decided that we were going to stay. Original plan was we were going to go home, but we decided we're going to stay for the opening ceremonies. Now, I don't know how the rest of the states do it, but in Illinois, we do what's called the Parade of Athletes. And what that is, we have officers will line up. It's like this walkway here. They line up for the athletes. Athletes all get introduced. They start walking down. They start high-fiving, fist-bumping, hugging, everything that was just amazing. Me and CJ do it. We go through the line. And I got to tell you, I wasn't sure who was having more fun, the officers or the athletes. It was so cool to see. So we get into the bleachers. We sit down. We start watching again. We're watching the athletes. They're all dancing. They're having fun. All of a sudden, the lights go off in the stadium. Folks, I knew what was coming, but I didn't really know what was coming. And what I mean by that is all of a sudden, the parade of torches came in. Every leg in our state is represented by a torch, and they do one lap around the football field. Then it's extinguished. Then we have one torch that ultimately will light the cauldron. As that torch ran into the stadium, I just stared at it. I stared at them, and it was at that point I realized that what that torch meant to me. Not only did it mean it was me, it symbolized me, not only as an officer, but as a father of an athlete. And it was to say that triggered a switch in me is an understatement. It was like that moment there, it was like, hey, you are going to be okay. You are going to be okay. Your family's going to be okay. Your son's going to be okay. So after the closing ceremonies, we go home. Now we're an official Special Olympic family. The more we got involved, the more we realized what Special Olympics does for folks with intellectual disabilities. Through young athletes, again, we watched for another 5 years, we watched our son grow. His ability to, again, the gross motor skills, his balancing, his walking, running, throwing, everything sport we watched him excel in, and we watched him grow in. And then as he transitioned into the traditional program, we saw him continue to grow. But then we saw the social elements get put in, his friendships, the bonds, the teamwork. Then we saw that. And again, we just realized we need to get more involved. And again, the impact it had on us. So one other thing that I left out, and you guys will get a kick out of this one. Special Olympics taught him to his attitude. His attitude. Now, I cannot say this little boy who's going to join me on stage shortly understands the difference between winning and losing, But I will tell you this, he knows the difference between a medal and a ribbon. The medals, Nick, CJ, the medals, the ribbons. Medals get hung on the wall. Ribbons, off on the floor in the van. Not until we pick them up and hang them up do we do that. So he developed his attitude, and the power of it is astounding. Folks, I don't have my family on stage. CJ, come here, buddy. Come on. Darren, help him out, please. Hey, CJ, come here. You remember that attitude I told you about? It's on full display. Come on. Come join me. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Hey, you're okay. You're okay. I got you. Hey, come on. Hey, go upstage. Come with me. Attitude on full display. I will say this. Remember I said that part he doesn't talk? He does. He has one word, and it's shit. And she taught him it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my family. This is my beautiful wife, Nicole, my daughter, Madison, and my son, CJ. I could not. And there's. Thank you. To my wife, I can never ask for a better partner through this entire journey. She's been with me lockstep on everything. Special Olympics means as much to her as it does to me, likewise the torch run. I don't want this to get lost in this. I've been focusing on Special Olympics and the impact it has on athletes. This beautiful young lady standing behind me, Madison, grew up with Special Olympics. She grew up with a son, or excuse me, not a son. A brother with an intellectual disability. She was around it, she grew up in the environment, and it impacted her. It impacted her to the point that this spring she will be graduating from Illinois State University with a degree in speech communication. Her goal is to continue on for her master's degree. Stop. She's gonna get a master's degree. Come here. She's going to continue on for a master's degree, and her goal is to work with early intervention. She wants to do exactly what the therapist did for CJ here. As far as CJ, also known as the mayor and also known as Meathead, CJ's Special Olympic experiences include unified track, traditional track, bocce, bowling, unified soccer at his local high school. As a matter of fact, next weekend he's playing in the state championship tournament for the unified soccer. Hey, all right. Again, attitude, Special Olympics, thank you for that. Folks, they wanted me to talk about my torch run experience. I'm standing in front of 1,100 people, I think they said. I don't need to tell you about my experience. You guys understand it, because if you didn't understand it, you wouldn't be sitting with me today. I will tell you this, the torch run is now my life. It's become a big part of my life. It's part of our family. It is our family. I've been a little bit vague on some of my story. Here's what I want. I need to finish off with 3, and Lisa Carlone, I promise I'm almost done. You're probably in back going, oh my God, get him off stage, he's past his time. This is the part that I want to really emphasize. Folks, you never know what words and how words are going to impact you as you go through life. There's part of my story I skipped over, but I just want to touch on it real fast to set the example number 1. Shortly after we found out that he was going to have the heart condition and have the disability, we had a first doctor's visit with the regular doctor. They offered us an abortion. The doctor offered us an abortion. And immediately, unanimous vote, no. Moments later, a nurse came in. The nurse that came in stood about this tall. And she started to say abortion, and I stood up. I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but I'm not the smallest guy. And the fit of rage I had, knowing what she was going to offer me, I jumped on her. Not literally, I just jumped like, no, it's not an option. Get out of here. If I hear abortion, the term again, I am going to do everything in my power to make people know that this hospital is an advocate of aborting children that may have a disability. She goes out of the room, doctor comes back in and thanked us, said that he had to do it for insurance purposes with the hospital because even though we're in the 21st century, people sue because they don't have the perfect children. That doctor gave me the best advice a couple of months afterwards at a doctor's visit. He told me, he said, hey, he goes, Bill, if you take your child and put him in a closet, he's going to be a closet. He said, if you take your child out and show him the world, he is going to be part of the world. And folks, that kid right there is part of this world, as he's clearly demonstrated to you already. Second story. Hey, stop. The second one involves a coworker of mine who's with me today, sitting over here, Darren Persha. He was I believe the first person I told outside of family that what we were facing. He came over one night, he was working, he came over, and we sat in our driveway, and I vented. I vented is probably more than I should have, and probably kept him longer than I should have. But at the end of it, he looked at me and he said, hey, that kid is gonna show you the world, a whole new world. And Darren, you don't know how right you were. Not only has he showed me a new world, little did you know he was going to show you the world too, because Darren's been one of my partners for 12 years. It's our 12th conference together. So Darren, he also showed you the little bit of the world that we may never saw. The last guy I have, he threatened me last night if I bring his name up, he was going to kill me, but I don't care. Another coworker now who is a coworker of mine, that same leg leader who told me about the Young Athletes Program, or exposed me to that, is Dennis Riley. He's still our leg leader currently in the leg. To know Dennis is to love him. Here's the thing with Dennis, if you don't want the truth, don't ask him, because he's going to tell you it. So we finish our leg up, going through town. Dennis leads the whole procession of it for the most part. We get to the end of it, and I'm pretty confident I was dying because clearly this body's not made for running. I'm dying, I'm just basically just sitting there. Dennis pulls up to me next to the squad, window goes down. He looks over to me, and again, I apologize for the language. He just looks at me, he goes, hey, asshole. So I look over at him, he goes, you have no excuse, start doing more. Window up, he drives away. Dennis, that fire you started that day with that challenge is the reason I stand here today, and the reason the man I am today and the family I have today. So to you, I cannot thank you enough. That fire still burns, Den. I'm going to close out with this. I know I'm long-winded, but I'm going to close out with this. Those same words, I'm asking everybody in here, when you go back to your states, you go back to your programs, you go back to your events, do me a favor, engage your athletes, engage their families. You never know, and listen to their stories and give them encouragement, because you never know if you might be what Dennis and Darren were to me, you might be to that family. You might give them that spark they need to either accept the fact their life, to drive them towards greatness. And then the other thing is, I'm a huge advocate of young athletes, the Young Athletes Program. Same thing, if you get a chance to go back to your young athletes programs, please do. And when you're there, again, listen to the families, listen to their stories, but this is what I ask, and to me this I think is key. If you get a chance to grab that child by the hand and take them through one of their events or one of their stations, do it. Here's why. When you take that child and that family sits there and watches you, there's two messages I think are conveyed. One, that the world is accepting of their child. And two, that might be the first time that somebody took their child to do something with where they were just able to sit back and say it's going to be okay, because they can actually sit and enjoy and see the accomplishments their children and the goals they are, that they are doing. So I thank you for your time this afternoon. Thank you for allowing my family to be a part of it. Please stay safe and God bless. Thank you. Come here. Here, come here. Come here. Wave. Say bye. Wave. Say bye. Wave. Wave. Oh, wait. All right, hey, look there. Hey, down there. Thank you. Hey. Oh, wait.